Hello, I'm Miss Carla. We're going to continue reading Lety Out Loud by Angela Cervantes. I am going to stop reading by 2:30 today because the governor is going to be doing her press conference at 2:30 instead of 1 o'clock today. So I don't want to hold anyone up who wanted to watch that. So we will be a little bit shorter today, but still get probably a good few chapters in. We are on chapter 15. It's called Deep Blue Dreams. Over the dinner table at Lety's house, Mrs. Quispe explained everything to Lety's parents. Eddie sat on his dad's lap, burying his face against his neck. "I tried to make him stop, Dad," Eddie blurted out every so often. "He was mean." Lety sat on the couch with Brisa in silence, listening to their parents going back and forth, trying to understand why the man was so angry. Lety's father shared a story about a time he was at a bank. A man accused him of jumping the line in front of him, although he hadn't, and called him all sorts of names. Her father watched his words, knowing Lety, Brisa, and Eddie were listening. He rarely talked about his time alone in the U.S. He always reassured Lety that people were nice here. He never complained. Now he was sharing a bad story. Eddie looked up, horrified. "When did that happen, Papa?" Eddie asked. "No te preocupes, mijo. I want to know," Eddie continued. Lety's father said that the man yelled at him to get out of the country. Lety's father didn't know how to defend himself in English. No one else spoke up for him. He was embarrassed and left without cashing his check. Brisa shook her head slowly. "I'm not returning to the shelter," she said softly to Lety. "What? ¿Por qué no?" "I have to improve my English, not make cat toys." "But you love cats," Lety said. A tear trickled down Brisa's cheek. "It's true, especially Bandit, Chicharito, Wild, Lorca, Messi, Solo, and Sinclair. All of them, but it doesn't help me. I have to be able to speak English like Eddie." "But Brisa," Brisa shook her head. "You speak like Eddie." "No, I don't. I wanted to say something to that man, but my mind was empty." "That's because you were afraid. We were afraid too." Eddie could still speak in English. "You too," Brisa said. "Please come back to the shelter with me," Lety said. "It won't be the same without you. Plus, you said we shouldn't give up. We are tough." "I'm not. No more. English will make me tough. You too. Come to ELL class. You were my desk buddy, remember?" "My parents paid a lot for me to be there," Lety said. "Plus, I'm a shelter scribe." "Then stay there. I've made up my mind," Brisa said. The way she said it, Lety knew it was true, and there was nothing more she could say. Lety swallowed hard. She didn't want to be away from Brisa, but she couldn't leave the shelter now. The choice between the shelter and being with Brisa was like someone pulling her heart apart. She wondered if this is what Dr. Villalobos meant by hurting like the Dickens. "I'm going to just show up to Mrs. Camacho's class. I hope she doesn't mind." Lety shook her head. She knew Mrs. Camacho wouldn't mind having Brisa back this summer. "She'll be happy, Brisa," Lety said. "You're one of her best students." "The thing is, I was starting to feel like I belonged here. Being at the shelter with all the other campers, making toys for the gatitos, and now I just want to be back with my abuela. I miss her more than ever. I want to be back in La Paz. This place will never feel like home." "It will, Brisa," Lety said. "How can you be sure?" "Because we're together." Brisa took Lety's hand and held it. Lety hoped she'd never let go, but deep down she could feel her best friend slipping away. Later that night in bed, Lety couldn't sleep. She was upset that Brisa wasn't returning to the shelter. Across the room from her, Eddie wriggled around in his twin bed and let out a few whimpers like the kittens at the shelter when they were afraid. When Eddie's whimpers turned into an all-out sob, her father came in and switched on the light. "Mijo," her dad whispered. He sat at the edge of Eddie's bed and pulled the covers to see Eddie's wet, teary face. "Mijo, ¿por qué lloras?" "I don't want people to yell at me." Lety's father wiped Eddie's tears away with his calloused fingers. "No llores, Eduardo," he said. "No cry." Eddie's sobbing crumpled Lety's heart like chalk on the sidewalk. She was used to Eddie always being confident and positive. She imagined herself taking purple chalk and scrawling words that would make her little brother feel better. She remembered what Mrs. Camacho had said about Eddie's English being better because he was younger when he started to learn it. "People won't yell at you, Eddie," Lety said, sitting up in bed. "You're young and your brain is a sponge. You speak English better than all of us." "Not just me. I don't want them to yell at you, Mom, Dad, or Brisa either," Eddie cried, covering his face with his hands. "Or Mrs. Quispe. I don't want—" Eddie's voice broke into a long wail. Lety helplessly looked at her father, unsure of what else to say. Then her father did something she never expected. He reached for a paint swatch from Eddie's nightstand. As Eddie sobbed, her father started reading the colors aloud. "Dark denim, Durango blue, jean jacket blue." Eddie dropped his hands from his eyes and glanced up at his father. A smile crept across his face. "Arizona sky, indigo night." "Papa," Eddie laughed, "you pronounced all of them wrong." "Que? I say it correct, no?" Lety's father winked playfully at Lety. "No," Eddie said with a chuckle. "Tomorrow, you and Lety teach me say English correct. Sleep now, mijo." "Okay, but I get to be the teacher," Eddie said, flopping down against his pillow. As her father tucked Eddie back into bed, Lety wiped her tears with her bedsheets. Her father came over, leaned down, and kissed Lety's forehead. He smelled minty like the medicine her mom rubbed on her hands after long days of painting cabinets. She wondered if his hands or back were hurting. Before he walked out of the room and switched off the lights, Lety called out to him, "Papa? Si, mija? Are you glad we came here?" Her father paused at the doorway and gave her a tired smile. "Si, mija. We make dream here. Better life for you." "Even if they don't want us here?" "Si, mija. No one can stop dreams. Buenas noches, mi vida." "Buenas noches, papa." He turned off the light, filling the room with darkness except for a ray of light that streamed under the door into the room. It created a blue haze on the floor between the two beds. Lety studied the blue glow. It reminded her of the deep end of a swimming pool. As if it was another color on a paint swatch, Lety named it. Sueños azules oscuros, she whispered. Deep blue dreams. As she dozed off to sleep, she, Brisa, Eddie, and her entire family dove into the blue sea. They splashed around, free of doubt, free to speak whichever language they wanted, and even when her feet couldn't touch the bottom, she wasn't afraid. Chapter 16. Good news, bad news. Oh, I wanted to point out, did you notice how Lety and Eddie sound like they rhyme? Even though Lety is spelled Lety. See? And Eddie here is spelled Eddie. But the way I pronounce them, because I don't say the T in Lety very sharply, it sounds similar. I thought that was cute. Also, I wanted to mention that the vet's name, Villalobos, Dr. Villalobos, it looks like Villa Lobos in English because it has two L's at the beginning, but in Spanish you say that like a Y sound. So I have been saying it that way. But if you read the book, yourself, you'll see that it's spelled like Villalobos. Okay, chapter 16, Good News, Bad News. Walking through the front door of the shelter without Brisa was lonelier and stranger than Lety expected. All night she kept hoping Brisa would change her mind, but a phone call from Brisa's mom in the morning confirmed it. Brisa was going to ELL class for the rest of the summer. Lety's stomach flip-flopped at the thought of a full day without Brisa. Kennedy and Mario raced up to Lety, eager to tell her the latest on the contest. Best day ever, Kennedy began. Lety wasn't so sure. So far, the day had felt rough. Messi and Chicharito were adopted last night by one of the coaches for the city's soccer team. Check it out, Mario said, shoving his cell phone in front of Lety. He's already posted pictures online. He scrolled to a photo of the coach and his family with the two cats. It was captioned, Goal! Our family is complete. Lety looked back and forth from the picture to Kennedy and Mario. As they carried on excitedly, Lety had a feeling that the contest was more important to them than to her and Hunter. The score is 4-2 now, Kennedy said. You're definitely catching up. Catching up? She's down by 3 pets. Hunter is 1 adoption from winning it all, Mario said. Looks like you'll be scooping dog food soon, Lety. Kennedy nudged him hard, sending him away, rubbing his ribs. It's not over until the fat lady sings, Kennedy hollered at him. Who is the fat lady? Lety asked. I don't think we're supposed to say fat. It's just a silly expression, Kennedy said, and then looked around. Wait a minute, where's Brisa? She's not coming, Lety answered. She's decided to go to summer school. What? Why? We're making tuna pops for the cats today. Lety wasn't sure if she should tell Kennedy about what happened at the store. Dredging it up meant having to think about her brother crying, Mrs. Quispe crying, and repeating the man's awful words. I don't understand, Kennedy said. She was looking forward to making tuna pops. Did she say why? Should I text her? Lety shook her head. Nothing will change her mind. What happened, Lety? Kennedy wasn't going to give up until she knew the reason Brisa wasn't there. So Lety pulled her by the hand over to the washer and dryer room. She told Kennedy the whole story. He kept telling us that we were in America and should speak English. What a bully, Kennedy hissed. Did you ask him which America he meant? South America or North America? Because Brisa's family is from South America and Mexico is part of North America. So what did he mean that this was America and everyone should speak English? Did you ask him that? He didn't give us a chance to say anything. He just yelled, Lety said. Eddie was so upset he could barely sleep last night. Oh no, Kennedy shook her head furiously. Poor Eddie, I'd like to slug this bully. Lety smiled at the thought of Kennedy going after the man. I mean, I'd really like to smack him right in the snout and say, hey, big guy, learn your continence, and cállate la boca. Lety burst out laughing as Kennedy practiced her rough Spanish and got worked up. I mean it, Lety. I believe you. What a bully. Tranquila, Kennedy. Lety hugged Kennedy. Don't go and turn crazy poodle on me. Kennedy laughed and fanned herself as if to cool off. What are we going to do about Brisa? She has to come back. I know. This is so horrible that I don't even want to give you more bad news, Kennedy said, covering her mouth like she was scared. Lety closed her eyes for a second. She definitely wasn't in the mood for more bad news, but she took a deep breath. Tell me. Kennedy pulled her iPad from her bag. Hunter's profile for Brooks is really popular. He used the word you gave him, cerise, and it's sort of awesome, so... Lety took the iPad. At the top of the screen was a photo of Brooks, the tuxedo cat, peering out from behind a vase of flowers. Brooks. I'm a 3-year-old tuxedo cat that is dressed for every occasion. I enjoy watching the sunset from a comfy windowsill as it glows deep cerise and the sun sinks in the west. After sunset, I like a slow stroll through the cat maze. Before bed, a good saucer of milk with a chewy tuna bite is the perfect treat. I'm looking for a family who enjoys sunsets, snuggles, and the finer things in life. Is that you? Visit me at Furry Friends Animal Shelter today. It's amazing, Lety said. He really deserves to be shelter scribe. You do too, Kennedy said. And Lorca's profile, is it done? Kennedy placed her hands on her hips. You still have a chance to win this thing. Lety pulled out her notebook. I'm on it, she said, and then raced to the cat room. Lety planned to write the best profile she could in honor of Eddie, Brisa, and English language learners everywhere. Chapter 17. First Draft. Lety found Lorca lounging on the highest shelf in the cat room, overlooking the cages below. His golden eyes were as large as sunflowers and flickered like glitter. Lorca thinks he's a lion, Kennedy said, pulling a gray kitten named Kiwi out of its cage. Dr. Villalobos says he sits up there so he can watch all of us. I think he secretly judges us. How does he get up there? Lety asked, glancing around the room to spot Lorca's path. He leaps and pounces from the tops of the cages. He's the only one Dr. V allows to roam. He's wild and free like a lion in sub-Saharan Africa. But he doesn't bother anyone. He's chill, Kennedy said. You should definitely add that to your profile. And his name? Do you know where it's from? Kennedy shook her head. No clue. Lety jotted a few notes and began to write what she hoped was her best profile yet. As soon as Lety got home, she called Brisa. She wanted to know how her first day back at ELL class went, and also share Lorca's profile with her. It's just a first draft, Lety explained to Brisa. Read it to me. A lion? A tiger? No, I'm Lorca. I am a golden, fluffy cat that loves to climb, leap, and pounce. Here at the shelter, I roam, keeping an eye on the kittens in the clinic. Everyone says I am the king of the cats because I am loyal and brave. Will you join my kingdom? Visit me at Furry Friends Animal Shelter today. It is so good, Lety said. Lety, Brisa said, I like that word fluffy. It's one of those English words that actually sounds like what it is, you know? Lety laughed. You're right. But I still have to use supersonic in the profile, and I don't know what Lorca's name means. I know, Brisa said. Lorca is a poet from Spain. He lived a long, long time ago. My mom has a couple of his books at our home because she was a teacher in La Paz. She studied all the poets, José Martí, Pablo Neruda, Octavio Paz, Sor Juana Inés, all of them. Lety stared down at Lorca's profile. I have to revise it. ¿Por qué? It is good. If Lorca is named for a poet, then I'm going to write a poem. What do you think? Are you going to try to rhyme supersonic? Maybe chronic. Wait, is that a real word? I don't know. I think I made it up. Chronic is a real word, Brisa, Lety chuckled. It may not rhyme totally, but I'll try. Did anyone ask about me at the shelter today? Brisa said in a voice that reminded Lety of a puppy that wanted to be held. Everyone. Did you tell them why I wasn't there? I told Kennedy. What did she say? She went all crazy poodle. She called the man a bully, and then said we should have asked him what America he was talking about. South America? North America? She wants to punch him in the snout. Lety laughed, remembering Kennedy getting all worked up. But Brisa didn't react. The silence worried Lety. Brisa? Last night, my mind was wild, she said. I kept thinking about all of the things I wanted to say to that man. I speak 2 languages. He only speaks 1. But both languages failed me. Brisa's voice faded, then rose again like a tsunami wave. As if we don't know that we have to learn English. What does he think we're doing? Does he think people can learn English in a day? He is ignorant. Every day we tighten our tongues to speak English, hide our accents, practice sounding like everyone in class. He doesn't know what we do to learn English. And he never bothered to ask, Lety said. Exactly. He just yelled, Brisa added. Yelled at me and my pregnant mom. I know, Lety said. I was so sleepy today that I dozed off a few times while Mrs. Camacho was reading a story. Brisa let out a nervous laugh. She gave us homework, a book report. I haven't read a book all summer. I need to find something to read. I can help you, Brisa. Thanks, but I have to stop depending on you. Lety felt like a harsh wind had just toppled her over onto her butt and lifted Brisa up into the air away from her, like a cloud drifting farther and farther. I'm sorry, but it is because we won't always be together, Brisa said. We won't always be desk buddies. I know that now, and I have to start doing things on my own. Don't be mad. ¿Estás enojada, Lety? I'm not mad, Lety answered. She took a deep breath and wished that man had never said anything to them. What gave him the right to yell at them? Because of him, she felt a giant wall creeping up between her and Brisa. She was mad, but not at her best friend. I'm a little sad. Don't be sad, she said. Can you do me a favor and give the cats a beso for me? All of them? Yes, kiss them all. Brisa laughed a wicked laugh. And hurry up and beat Hunter. You deserve to be shelter scribe. Before bed, Lety had turned Lorca's profile into a poem that was still less than 100 words. Short and sweet. That's how Dr. Villalobos liked it. Her family wanted to hear it. If you don't understand, I can translate, Eddie told them, pulling out a tablet of yellow paper. Mrs. Camacho says I'm a good translator. Lety stood up at the table and began to read. Lorca. I'm a golden-haired tabby with the heart of a king. High above the cat room you'll find me smiling. My curious eyes observe as people come and go. They come looking for cats, but they do not know. I leap and pounce at supersonic speed. Of all the cats, I take the lead. I am a loyal friend that will not leave your side. I choose you to be part of my lion pride. My fur is golden, but it is my soul that shines. Look at me, I am yours forever, and you are all mine. Lety's mom and dad clapped wildly. Eddie stood up, grabbing for the paper. I want to read it. Can I read it, Lety? Lety passed it to him. Eddie cleared his throat and read Lety's poem, pausing and stumbling at words he didn't know. When he reached the last line, he added a roar that made everyone laugh. As her parents hugged Eddie, an idea flashed in front of Lety, like lightning. Eddie, do you understand all the words? Eddie shrugged. Some of them I didn't know supersonic, but I think it means fast. Fast as the speed of sound. Whoa, that's the fastest. Do you like reading aloud? Eddie looked back and forth from Lety to their parents. We do it at school, but this was more fun because it's not a boring story. Another flash lit up her heart. She gave her little brother a kiss on the top of his head. You just gave me an idea. Later that night, as Eddie was tucked away in bed, Lety kept the small lamp next to her bed turned on. She couldn't shake the idea that she'd had earlier. What if, she thought, letting the idea stretch out in front of her like a cat. What if ELL students like her brother and Brisa could come to the shelter to read to the dogs and cats? The dogs needed the company. The cats would love the attention. Then Brisa could come back to the shelter. She could be with the kittens and improve her English at the same time. Lety laid her head back against her pillow. There were only 2 people she needed to convince. Would Dr. Villalobos like it? Would Mrs. Camacho agree to it? Lety dozed off, certain it was worth a try. That's the end of chapter 17. The next chapter is chapter 18, Barrel of Dog Food, and we will pick that up tomorrow. It is 2:26, so if you were hoping to catch the governor's press conference, we are just in time. Have a good day, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow.